Aloha everyone, welcome. You're all in the wisdom training, so this is a little bit of review for you. Today we're going to be focusing on trying to bring all of our mechanoreceptors online, so having more variety in our movement in addition to our usual slow and smooth. We've got plenty already for the interstitial and the Ruffini receptors, but I'll try to incorporate a little bit more for our playful Piccini corpuscles, as well as some stronger and longer holds, which I never do, and I'm really inspired to have that part of my awareness and your awareness online today. So hopefully we will illuminate all of those areas inside that sometimes we avoid or we don't enjoy as much in our practice. So with that, make sure, well, you might want to have a block. It's not required, but grab a block if it's handy. You don't really need a blanket unless your joints just feel like having a blankie around today. And then you can place your props off to the side because we don't need them right away, and turn over to, I can't see if I'm mirrored or not. Turn to your left and slowly make your way onto your belly. And then from the belly, stack the hands, elbows wide, forehead to hands, and find a comfortable way to be here. Make any adjustments to the arms, the shoulders. You can take a minute to wiggle your hips a little bit, giving some space for the legs. And then start to notice your breath. And notice how the inhale gently stimulates pressure from the diaphragm down towards the mat. Notice that sense of expansion that is so easy to feel on the inhale, and see if you can keep that quality as you exhale. That sense of feeling bright and spacious. Even though the lungs may physically get smaller, see if you can feel just as expansive and spacious on the exhale. And just take a few breaths like this, letting the rest of your day go. Giving yourself the opportunity to arrive in your physical body. And as you do that, you may notice areas that feel tight or sticky or numb. And just be curious in what is illuminated. And there's no need for judgment. Awareness alone can help our body tremendously. We don't have to change anything. And if you're following along with the music today, you can hit play on the first track. And gently reach the arms overhead and tent the fingertips so the elbows lift, and start to push into one hand and just the fingertips of that hand at a time, and notice how the body gently responds to that pressure, and allow that movement to unfold. So that gentle swaying from side to side, the massaging of the forehead. Maybe you can even feel how sensation changes from the inside of the arm to the outside of the arm, depending on which way you're pushing and rolling. And the next time you push into the right hand and you start to gently roll towards the left, slide the right hand back, push into it so you can roll completely onto the left side, and keep that rolling action going with some gentle forward and back rocks. Make any adjustments to the bottom arm. The arm can be outstretched. It can also be interesting to explore having it tucked underneath the body if that's more comfortable or more interesting. Just make sure the head and neck feel supported and there's no strain. And then if the arm has tucked underneath you, let it free, bend the elbow and cradle the head with the hand. So kind of like making a pillow with the bottom arm. Bend the knees a little bit and start to lift the top knee for some clamshells. And move really nice and slowly here. Make sure the heels are lined up with the hips. And less is more. And the reason I wanted to add this into the sequence today is because we are going to be doing some stronger, longer holds. And I want you to start to feel that quality of when a muscle is getting a little fatigued, which at least I find very easy to find in this exercise, and start to explore how to release. Maybe it means moving a little slower. Maybe it means breathing a little bit more. When you feel the fatigue in the hip, how can you support yourself without increasing the fatigue? And maybe it literally means resting, right? So start to play with that concept in yourself, especially if you're the type to just hold and grit your teeth and hold your breath. How can you find some softness and some ease? And then set the leg down, extend the legs out, allow the right arm to slide forward, rolling onto the belly. And then as we roll onto the right side, pause on the right side and massage that hip that was just working so hard. So hopefully that feels really nice. Similar sequence from the past few weeks, but we'll be focusing on just building a little more strength and endurance. And then keep on rolling all the way to the far side of the mat. Drag the left heel in, reach the hands towards the foot for our single leg bridge, and gently start to push into the left foot to unweight the hips. Notice the sensation in the knees as you do this. Set the hips down and give your intelligent body permission to adjust where the foot is. Let's take a few of these pulses, and each time the hips come down, adjust where the left leg is. If that knee is talking to you, make sure the left big toe is anchored. And on the final lift, make sure you're breathing, but option to start to hover the right leg just to increase the level of challenge here. Make sure you can breathe and make sure there's no pain. Slowly release one vertebra at a time. Release the lifted leg, arms overhead. Push into the left leg to roll all the way over to the other side, back to where we started. And you might remember from last week the action of pushing down into the left leg to hover the right leg weightlessly. And we're going to roll back and forth a few times. So right arm stretches out, roll onto the belly all the way into the single-legged bridge. Option to lift the right leg this time. And then release back down, kick into the left foot to roll all the way over into our leg hover. And we're going to do this for several moments. And so I want you to move at your own pace and start to notice what you're favoring. Do you favor the rolling and try to skip the holding part? That's okay if you do. Do you love the holding and the rolling is just a point A to point B thing? Start to notice your tendency and try to bring a little more excitement into the blind spot, right? Try to have fun in the area that you would have glossed over. And we'll take one more roll. If you're feeling it, you're welcome to hold the single leg bridge a little longer. Just make sure that's not building any tension. Nice, Sithara, that looks so integrated. And we'll all meet on the left side with the top leg down, pausing for a moment. Close the eyes and just notice the energy that starts to build as we roll. And then start to push into the hands, coming up towards a Virabhadrasana setup. But we have to add some more playful stuff, right? So if your body feels okay doing this, take some jumps with your arms. Imagine your arms like little springs, so there shouldn't be any tension here. Yay, you guys all look great. Pay attention to your hips here too, because we are in a twist. Don't worry about how high you're springing, but if it feels good, you can find that moment of hang time and then control your way back down. Nice to meet you, Joanne. And the next time you're up, pause there, right hand to knee, and let that whole left side lengthen. Gently breathe. Try to notice a sense of evenness through the left side of the body, especially in the left shoulder. Ooh, that looks really nice. We can copy Arti and gaze down at the right shoulder and notice how that feels on the neck. And then lift both arms, and with an exhale for a little extra strength, push down into the shins to hover the hips, and we'll take some of our I want to call it slalom skiing. I've obviously never done that, but feel free to use that image if it helps inspire you. And start to play with the idea of holding to one side. It's an awkward movement, so if that puts too much pressure on your hip socket and doesn't feel good, then don't do it. But explore what it's like to have the whole side body support you without gripping, without tension. And then try the other way. Try to find a sense of ease. Even though we're holding and we're challenging ourselves in these poses, it's always with a sense of wholeness and effortless effort. And then come back to center, knee your way over to the left so you're in the center of your mat. Bring your hips over to your right. And right hand to the mat, slide it out, rolling onto the side, extend the legs and roll onto the belly, forehead down for a moment. Hands can do whatever is comfortable, but start to rock the forehead from side to side. And imagine any tension in the mind just melting out of the forehead. Imagine the mind like a clear, calm body of water, vast and spacious. Slide the hands underneath the shoulders. Push into the hands to send the hips back to the heels just for a moment, and then push down into the feet and the knees to wave the spine forward. Once the shoulders make it to the wrists, pull the hands back and wide to gently lengthen the front of the body like a glorified cow. So we're not an up dog, it's just like an extended cow. Push into the hands, hips back to heels. And let's take a few of these with our breath. The inhale will roll you forward through cat into glorified cow. And then the exhale takes you all the way back. Really nice. Try to feel awareness through the spine, like you can feel every single vertebra going one at a time like a domino effect. And that might mean moving a little bit slower. And the next time you come forward, see if you can melt back down to the belly with so much ease so it's not a chaturanga, it's just like your body just turned into a puddle. And that actually takes a lot of strength and intelligence. Reach the right arm overhead, push into the left hand, and roll onto the right side. We'll take some gentle rocks onto the right side. You can close the eyes. And imagine with the eyes closed that the lights are turning on inside. You can start to have more awareness and a clearer vision of the space between the skin. And then bend the knees, hips in line with the heels. Start to take some clamshell movements with the left leg. And notice your tendency, right? Is it to overexert and grip in the glute? Is it to move really slowly? And just watch that tendency. And as we move through class today, see if you can bring a little bit of balance or a lot of balance. And keep the pelvis steady here, so you don't want anything moving besides the left femur rotating in the hip socket. If you feel the muscles starting to get tired, see if you can relax and do less. Give yourself the option to take a break if you need to. And let the mind unclench. Try to find a safe space to work. We're training ourselves for later. And then release the hip down. Left hand in front of you. Slide it out and let that slowly roll you onto your belly, and then eventually all the way over to the left side. We'll take a couple of rocks on the left side just to massage that left hip that was working. And then keep on rolling all the way onto your back. And this time, let's see, the right leg is bent. Hands float towards the feet. And we'll start with some really gentle lifts of the hips. Left heel stays down, and just let yourself glide the hips up and down. Adjust where the right foot is. There shouldn't be any pressure building in the low back as you do this. No pressure in the knee. So explore, find a way to be here. And if the hips don't lift, that's fine, as long as you feel strength building through the back body. And then option to play with hovering the left foot any amount as long as you can breathe. Remember, it doesn't count if you're not breathing. And then set the hips down, set the leg down, arms overhead, push into the right leg, roll all the way over to the other side, and let the left leg float. And then we go back into the single leg bridge. And now you've got playtime where you get to roll around at your own pace and play with starting to hold our single leg bridge. Of course, only if that feels safe. But it is quite a challenging movement. And see if you can find a way to be there with ease. And if you can't, skip it and keep rolling. We'll take one more. No need to rush. Nice, Kara. Great control, Bob. That was awesome. And we'll all meet on the right side. Gently start to push into the hands, coming into the Virabhadrasana setup, and then we'll take our little jumps with our arms. If it's too deep of a twist, you can favor the right arm. But if it feels good, you can do both arms and go lower towards the mat. Make sure you're breathing and feel that sense of the arms contracting like an accordion, folding in, and then as you push up, the accordion opens. So there's this evenness. Nice. And the next time you come up, left hand to thigh, right arm reaches, and let the whole right side of the body lengthen evenly, and make sure the left side of the body feels long too, so everything feels spacious. The top of the right shoulder. Option to gaze down at the left shoulder if that feels nice on the neck. Make sure you're breathing. And then reach both arms up and push into the shins to lift the hips and take a few side to side hip movements. The knees can be together or a little bit wider, whatever feels best for you. And then notice if there's an opportunity to hold and breathe and start to allow the body to figure out how to support you in a unique situation. You'll be ready for your mermaid incarnation. And then slowly come up to center. And let the shoulders start to shake out. Let the arms relax. If no one's around, you can do an om and see if you can get it to om, have that little like rattly sound. And then slow down the movement, come to stillness, close the eyes, and notice any awareness that's starting to build internally. Bring the hands to the hips. I'm turning to the side just so you can see me better, but you guys all know this movement well. Keep the tops of the feet flat. Keep the whole body from shoulders to knees straight, and we bend the knees for some rock backs. And as you do that, notice what starts to illuminate. And don't worry about going super far. If you want to sync this with your breath, I recommend exhaling on the lean back moment. And actually try to do a little less at first so that your body has an opportunity to feel this fully and in a connected way. And then if it's feeling really good and there's a craving arising, you can start to play with going a little further. And make sure you're breathing as you explore going further. And the next time you come up, bring the right hand to the low back and tuck the toes under. Start to circle the left arm forward, up, and back. And as it reaches back, notice that space from left hand to right knee stretching and lengthening, kind of like a half camel. And then circle the arm forward and repeat that a couple of times. And if you want to sync it with your breath, let the exhale be as you reach back. And then the inhale can bring you back to center. It's okay to let the body rotate away from the right knee as the arm circles. Let the body follow. So there's no resistance here. And then notice how close the hand is to the heel. If it's right there, it's fine to push down into the heel and float the right arm for a moment. If it's far, just keep circling. Wherever you are, breathe and notice a sense of spaciousness through the front of the body. To come out of this, bend the knees and send the hips to the heels. And then push into the knees, drop the arms, coming back to kneeling. Take a couple of rock backs just to find a sense of evenness and support, and then we'll go the other way. So the next time you come back up to neutral, left hand to sacrum, start to circle the right arm up and back, and as the arm reaches back, let the heart rotate. The arm is just the rudder, it's steering the ship of the body. As the arm circles up and back, push a little extra down into the right knee and notice how that can facilitate a sense of spaciousness through the front of the body. And then option, if the hand happens to be close to the right heel, fingertips can push down and then float the left hand. Otherwise, keep circling. Everyone, keep breathing. If you are in the holding posture, try to find a sense of spaciousness and lightness and let go of any linear idea of pushing further and going deeper. And then to come out, bring the hips down to the heels. Isn't that the best way ever to come out of camel? I discovered it one day and I was like, I need to tell the world that you don't have to do this anymore because it hurts. Okay, anyway, I'll get off my soapbox. Turn to your right, bring your hands down to the floor, to tabletop, and start to glide the left knee back into a half plank. Hover the left leg, and on an exhale, bring the knee, curl it in towards the nose. Take a couple of these curls, reaching out to neutral, and then exhaling to round. And then slow it down. Try to move a little smoother, so there's no beginning and no end to the movement. The next time the leg comes back, cross it over the right leg and push into the hands to send the hips back to the heels. Take a moment here, breathing through the side bodies. And then push down into the legs to slowly roll forward back towards a cross-legged table. Shift the weight into the left hand. Right arm reaches forward, up and back. Take a couple of circles here. Make sure the left arm is soft and springy. You might need to walk it back a little bit towards you for more support. Bring the right hand down, tuck the toes under, hover the knees, and push into the hands to send the hips up and back into a cross-legged down dog. Let the knees stay deeply bent and wag your tail from side to side. Push into the feet to slowly roll forward into a cross-legged plank and swivel the heels to the right. Put the weight into the right hand, and if it feels good, you can hover the left hand or keep both hands down. And then we'll repeat that. So bring the hand down to cross-legged plank, knees down. Shift the weight into the left hand, circle the right arm forward, up and back. You can take as many of these circles as you want, and then when you're ready, the next link in the chain is cross-legged down dog. Take a couple of breaths in down dog, and again, you can stay here as long as you want. The next movement is rolling forward into cross-legged plank and swiveling the heels to the side. And I want you guys to start to move at your own pace, so that if there's a moment that you want to hold and enjoy, you can come out of the twist at any time and then just twist right away in the opposite direction. You have the opportunity, right? And don't feel an obligation to hold. Let it be more of a craving that arises as the body gets stronger and more integrated. Make sure you're breathing. And almost all of you are yoga teachers, so please add things on, take things out. We'll take one last round. And once you've completed the round, you can uncross the legs, press the hips back to the heels, melt the forehead, and roll the palms up and down, or forward, in and out. I don't know. Roll them however you want to roll them. We're massaging our wrists. Very slowly sink the hips to the heels. Roll up one vertebra at a time and take the left arm forward, up and back, right into a spiraling camel. Hand can come towards the heel if that feels good, or keep spiraling like we did before. And then send the hips down to the heels, and we'll actually turn and face the other direction. So we'll do the same sequence on the other side, starting in tabletop. Let the right leg glide in and out, and I love this movement so much because it turns on the muscles of the deep core. Notice the sense of being supported in a way that's effortless, and that's the goal for the rest of the sequence. Hover the right leg, exhale to curl it in, inhale to lengthen everything out, flex the foot, and imagine you're standing on the wall behind you. Take a couple of those. And the next time the leg extends, cross it over the left leg, push into the hands, send the hips back to the heels. You can be still here, or you can gently sway from side to side. I'm really enjoying the massage that my left calf is getting as it presses into my right thigh. And then push down into the shins. Slow, dramatic roll forward, domino effect of the vertebra, one at a time. Shift the weight into the right palm, left hand circles forward, up and back. And take a couple of these, smoothing them out, right? Smooth motion means you have a lot of control, a lot of awareness, and actually quite a lot of strength. The next time the hand comes down, tuck the toes, hover the knees, push into the hand, sending the hips up and back into down dog with crossed legs, and wag your tail a little bit. Bend the knees in towards the belly so your spine has a lot of space. Nice, Roseanne. That looks so strong and so integrated. Great job. And then very slowly push into the feet, coming forward to cross-legged plank. Option to always lower the knees if you'd like more support. Swivel the heels to the left, side plank. Breathe, feel spacious. And then lower the hand, drop the knees, and go right back into the twist where the left arm circles forward, up, and back. So we go from our twisting tabletop into down dog, into cross leg plank, side plank. And start to move through the sequence and give yourself space to pause as the body craves it. And remember, whenever you're repeating something or whenever you're pausing, try to do a little less, because that's going to give your body the opportunity to have more subtle musculature turn on, things beyond your awareness at this moment. And it should make it easier and stronger. Let's take one more cycle through. So enjoy any of those movements that your body wants one last time. And then we'll uncross the legs and push back into Bhaktasana. Push down into the knees, slowly rolling up one vertebra at a time right into our circling Astrasana. This time the right arm circles forward, up and back. You can keep the arm circle going, or you can allow that hand to come down to the heel and the other hand lifts. Make sure you feel absolutely nothing in your back. There shouldn't be any pressure here. The whole front of the body should be your support system. And then lower the hips to the heels and turn to face me so you're at the long edge of the mat if your space allowed. If you would like to grab a sip of water, you can. You can go to the next track. Okay. You might want to have a block nearby, especially if it's hard to bring your hands to the floor in forward folds. You could set it to the highest height and have it over to your right hand side. And then tuck your toes under. I'll turn so you can see this. Tuck your toes under and give your feet a little massage by circling your hips a few times. If you want a little bit more here, you can actually sit on your feet with the toes tucked under. So we've got a few different options. And try to feel the whole ball of the foot. So where the big toe connects to the ball of the foot, fanning all the way out to the pinky side. The pinky side gets forgotten a lot, so see if you can find it. Or maybe for you, the big toe side gets forgotten. Try to wake up all of it. And then place the hands in front of you. I'll still demo from the side. Hover the knees and allow the heels to get heavy so that the hips lift and the head drops eventually into a forward fold. Bend the knees really, really generously to unweight the spine a little bit. Take a few deep breaths all the way across the spine, down the backs of the legs. Bring the hands onto the shins and walk the hands up to the thighs and play with extending the legs and bending the knees a couple of times, and make sure as you do this it doesn't create any tension in the spine, but just notice how it feels in the legs to actually let them straighten. And you can sync this up with your breath, exhaling as the legs straighten and inhaling as you bend the knees. And the next time the knees bend, release the body over the thighs, and if that experiment went okay, play with a similar thing in your forward fold, allowing the legs to lengthen any amount just so that the calves can get a little more involved. I always bend my knees, and I have noticed my calves are getting tighter and tighter. So as we straighten our legs, we allow our calves to stretch in our forward fold. And then let's all bend the knees again. Heavy hips so they're dropping towards the heels, and slowly roll up one vertebra at a time. It's fine to push your hands into your thighs. There should be no pain in the back as you do this. Make sure the neck feels supportive, and try to move really, really slowly. And once you've made it to the top, start to jump rope. It's way easier with an imaginary jump rope, I tell you what. And let the jump rope go a little faster, as long as that feels okay in your joints. And then do some fancy stuff with your jump rope. Ooh, my mic just fell off. It's too fancy. Oh wow, Roseanne's doing some really fancy stuff. I had no idea you were a professional jump roper, Roseanne. And then slow down your movements. And eventually pause in Tadasana and let your awareness sink down into the soles of the feet. But notice how even though you're in stillness, the awareness is flooding the body. You might even feel a sense of spaciousness or flow through the body. So I don't know if you can do this with a jump rope. You put your jump rope to the side. We're going to jump, but we're going to allow the feet to slowly make their way out to a straddle and then come back into Tadasana. And if you don't jump a lot, just make sure your knees and your hips are feeling safe as you do this. And notice how there's a point when the feet come out where you're like, I'm good. I don't need to go further. Yay! That's a great place to be for a straddle. Sometimes we go too far, but jumping keeps us really honest. So experiment with that with one more round. Make sure it's a place that you can literally jump, because that means the legs are activated and supportive. And then pause. Turn the toes and the knees out and sink your weight into your hips. Feel your heels connect with the earth. There should be a lot of space in the knees. You definitely don't want to feel any pressure in the front of the knees or the inside of the knees, so make any adjustments so you feel comfortable. Bring your arms to a T, and on an exhale, swoop your wings down and let your pelvis lift just a couple of inches. And then inhale, relax. And do this a couple of times. This is turning on the deep core. You might notice as you float in this part of the movement a sense of the pelvic floor gently supporting the abdomen, the spine lengthening, even a sense of weightlessness. And the next time you're weightless, pause there and play with lifting the left heel. And then set the left heel down and lift the right heel. And set the right heel down and relax a little lower. And then straighten both legs and let the arms soften for a moment. Take a breath. Feel the engagement in the legs and see if you can do a little bit less while still staying supported and spacious. So we bend the knees, arms to T, take a couple of floats. And the next time you're floating, we'll lift the left heel and we'll actually hold it. And we'll pause here. Try to feel the inside and outside of the ball of the foot pushing down. And notice a sense of strength rising up from the heel into the center of the knee, into the sit bone. There's a really deep core muscle that activates when we lift our heel here. We'll just take one more deep breath. And then with the heel still lifted, turn. Actually, that doesn't feel good. We're turning our toes to the right. Let the left heel drop out just a little bit for Virabhadrasana 2 and anchor the left heel down. It should feel really nice after having it lifted for all that time. And gently bend the right knee. Let the hips be relaxed and soft. Hover the knee, or I don't know how to hover my knees here. Hover the arms and gaze over the right middle finger. If you want a little movement, you can push into one foot at a time, allowing the spine to sway. If you want a little bit of stillness, press into the feet and see how light your Virabhadrasana 2 can be. And whatever you choose, try to notice it bringing you into balance. You don't have to assume that the one you don't want is the one that's best for you. That's not true necessarily, but just try to feel with it and play with it. And then lift the left heel and start to bounce on the left foot so the hips square towards the right. And then keep going with your bounces, and as the leg lifts, let the arms start to swing back. Let more and more weight come into the right heel. Nice springy right leg, just playing with some entryway Virabhadrasana 3. Keep the right big toe down. And the next time you tip forward, power into the right foot, swing the left knee forward and pause in a single leg balance. Find a drishti, take a couple of breaths. Ooh, Satyam added on here. You can try it too. Lift the right elbow and twist. Oh, fun, right? We're a good team. Arti, your silhouette is awesome right now. Take one more breath here. And then start to kick the left leg back as you reach the left arm forward. Left toes touch down and start to twist over to the left. Here's where you might want to block. Sorry, it's not quite at the right spot, but you can grab it, place it by the left foot, bring your right hand to the block and twist to the left. Bend the left knee any amount that feels good and start to rock forward and back on the heels. And notice how this changes the sensation on the inside of the right leg. So you might notice it more towards the hamstring, more towards the inner thigh, and just explore that a little bit. You don't want to feel it in the knee. And then lower the left hand to the block, bend both knees. Now you can place the block over to the right, and then hopefully that will be more convenient for the next round. Slowly roll up to Prasarita Padottanasana and jump back to Tadasana. And then we're going to jump all the way around in a circle back to the beginning. And then we're going to go the opposite direction. And then you can do whatever you want, but you have to jump. So you can jump both ways. Oh yeah, you can get crazy with your arms, like Sitara. And we'll all meet back at center. And pause. And notice the sense of how the jumping wants like your energy to rise up and out. And as you pause, imagine all that energy instead soaking into the heart center. And then we'll jump our feet out to a straddle. Toes and knees out, hands to a T. Take a couple of your floating goddesses. And the next time you float, you've got an option. You can do one heel at a time, or you can shorten your stance just a little bit, and you can play with doing both heels. And if you're doing, regardless actually, try to feel the whole ball of the foot supporting you. And so if you feel too much in the big toe, roll a little extra weight out into the pinky side and notice what activates in your legs as you do that. And then see if you can relax. I know I'm shaking a little bit, and I'm trying to find this sense of softness and ease. You can even close the eyes, but please don't fall over. And then set the heels down, straighten the legs for a moment, and then lift the left heel, turn the left toes to the short edge of the mat, lift the right heel, let the right toes come in just a little bit. Relax the hips so you're not telling them exactly which way to go. So Roseanne, it looks like the right foot could open a little bit more so you're facing more here and not quite as far to the left. Yes, great, that looks great. Soften the left knee and try to push evenly into both feet. And maybe you can remember what you did on the first side. You had the option to sway a little, or the option to hold and find a sense of effortless effort. Try both and notice what feels more grounding and more balancing to you. And then lift the right heel. Take your hops to face the left, and then keep hopping and let the arms start to swing. So as the leg lifts, let the arms swing back. And then bring more and more weight into the left heel, but keep the left knee really springy, really deeply bent. Make sure you're breathing. Yeah, as the right leg lifts, let the body tip, kind of like you're a teeter-totter. And the next time you're lifted, you can slowly bring the right knee up and pause in a single-legged balance and twist slightly into the leg. Take a couple of breaths and notice if you're gripping anywhere and see if you can soften. Great, everybody. And then slowly start to kick the right heel back and reach the right arm forward. Pause for a moment and then touch the toes down, pivot the feet to the right, left hand to the block, bend the right knee, and start to rock forward and back on the feet. If the block is too far and it feels like a lot on the back, the hands can always be on the thigh. That's totally fine. Or the hand can come down to the floor. And notice how the rocking changes the sensation in the left leg, and just avoid putting too much pressure in the left knee. You want it more to be in the inner thigh and in the hamstrings. And then bring the right hand to the block as well. Bend both knees. Shift the weight back into the heel. And slowly roll up. Okay. You can go to the next track. And we'll go through a very similar sequence. But we'll have the option to hold Veerabhadrasana 3 for a longer period of time to try to find that sense of effortless effort while building strength and maybe allowing like a little bit of fatigue to set into the body. So from here, hop the legs in, hop the legs out, and if you want to, you can do it a couple of times. And then pause with the legs out, heels in, toes out, couple of weightless goddesses, and then pause in your goddess option to lift the heels. I do like to shorten my stance a little bit when I'm lifting my heels, and if you're doing that, notice how lifting the heels, where that chain goes, right? It literally activates the inner thighs and the pelvic floor, so maybe you can Start to feel that lightness. And then turn the feet to the right for Virabhadrasana 2. Either snake or hold. But feel your grip loosening. And as you relax into the movement, feel yourself being more supported and lighter. Lift the left heel, start to bounce to the right. And then you can keep bouncing, especially if Virabhadrasana 3 is really challenging for you to hold. But when you feel up for it, go right into that single leg balance. That's going to be our preparation for Vira 3. Twist into the leg. And we'll slowly and consciously transition. So first, anchor the right big toe down. Rock the weight into the right heel, but bend the right knee. Get bouncy. Yeah, nice. And then start to send the left heel back. Reach the left arm forward. Make sure you're breathing. It's not about going far or deep. Bend all the limbs, even your knuckles. And take a few bounces in the right leg. See how springy you can be here. And then from that place, explore where it's comfortable to be. If you want to extend anything, you can, but don't force it. Try to breathe. No, you have to breathe. Don't try. Whenever you're ready, the left toes can lower, but you don't have to rush if you're feeling supported. And then pivot the feet to the center. Grab your block, and we go into our modified Skandasana. That right leg was working really hard, so it should feel nice to twist away from it and gently rock forward and back. It can be really challenging to stretch the adductors, and this is like my favorite thing ever for that. So if you have tight inner thighs, this is a great go-to pose. Lower the lifted hand, turn the toes so they're even. Rock the weight into the heels and slowly roll up. Jump back to center. It can be nice to just give the hips a break for a moment. You can enjoy stillness, or if you're feeling bouncy, you can play with some circular jumps. And then we'll do that one more time on the other side. So bounce the feet wide. If you're using the block, it can go over to the right. We'll start with Goddess. And this is our last round of Goddess. Not to say that it's good to go deeper, but just notice if there's a sense of feeling more supported or wanting more of the pose. Option to shorten your stance and lift your heels. It can also be fun to play with some side bends. Especially with this song, if you're using this playlist, it really. And then back to center, lift the right heel, turn the right toes in, lift the left heel, turn the left toes out, soften the left knee, choose your Virabhadrasana 2, but wherever you are, find that sense of ease. That ease creates space through all of the joints and focus in the mind. And then start to bounce on the right foot. And when you're ready to transition to single leg balance, right knee comes forward, take your twist. This is our prep for Virabhadrasana 3. So take a moment to get springy and relaxed here. Notice if you're lifting your right leg really high, and see if you can do a little less and find a little more space. And then slowly start to kick the right heel back, reach the right arm forward, weight in the left heel, anchor the left big toe, get bouncy in the joints, and then allow the whole body to lengthen and reach without building any tension. Try to feel a sense of evenness through the whole body working to support you. Make sure you're breathing. And then as you're ready, set the back toes down. Pivot the feet to the right. Bend the right knee. Bring the left hand to the block or the leg or the floor. And take your gentle forward and back rocks to massage the left leg. You can take a couple of circles with the right arm, just allowing the twist to grow through the whole body. And then switch sides, because we didn't do that on the other side. So now the left leg can, or the left arm can circle forward, up and back. And as the arm circles, you can allow the body to rotate, which is going to increase the length on that inner right thigh. And then bring both hands to the block, all 10 toes forward. Bend the knees really, really deeply. Weight in the heels, melt forward. Perhaps the hands sink towards the floor. Push into one foot at a time to gently sway from side to side. Imagine any tension in the low back melting, dripping out of the crown of the head. Any tension in the hips, in the inner thighs, or anywhere that you're experiencing tension. Imagine as you sway from side to side, you can massage it out and let it melt away. Bend the knees deeply, walk the hands over to the right, turning all 10 toes, and then lower the back knee and step the right foot back to meet it. So you're in tabletop with your head pointed towards the short edge. Yay, you guys all made it. Paw out the hands, shifting the weight from side to side. Bring a little extra weight into the pinky side of the hand. So the base of the wrist on the pinky side is pushing down, and the thumb side is really soft and buoyant. No pressure in that sensitive area of the wrist. Walk the hands back a little bit. Notice how the elbows can bend more when you do that. And you want to feel more awareness up through the triceps. So up through the back of the arms into the back of the body. So try pawing the hands back. Try rolling the weight onto the pinky side. And notice if you can wake up a little extra awareness through the backs of the arms and the back body. And then lower to the forearms, partially just to give the wrists a rest for a moment. But as you do that, notice a sense of strength between your shoulders and your rib cage. It's kind of like magic. It automatically happens when the forearms are down. Use an exhale to hover the knees, and then inhale, set the knees back down. And take a couple of these hovers. The next time the knees come down, make some big circles with the shoulders over the elbows. And as you do that, notice a greater awareness of how the arm bone inserts into the shoulder girdle, the muscles of the rotator cuff that are pulling the arm bone into the socket. Go the opposite direction. Come back to center. Use an exhale to hover the knees, and then inhale, push into the hands, sending the hips up and back for Dolphin Pose. Sway the hips from side to side. Let the heels pivot from side to side, so the body is fluid and not rigid at all. You can play with those arm circles if you feel supported enough. Circling the shoulders over the elbows with the knees lifted is going to be more challenging, so just make sure that's not creating any tension in the neck and shoulders. Circle the opposite direction. And then set the knees down, sink the hips to the heels, melt the forehead, and draw a big circle with the arms around the body. Lift the hips, grab one wrist, and then place the hips down on top of the arms to let the shoulders release for a moment. Breathe through the back of the body. Let the shoulders soften. Let the neck soften. If it feels good, you can gently rock from side to side, massaging the forehead, massaging the shins. Release the arms. Slowly roll up one vertebra at a time, meeting in a high kneel. Circle the left shoulder forward, up and back, letting the whole body rotate, and then take over with the right arm up, back, and alternate one shoulder at a time, just massaging out the shoulders, massaging out the spine, letting the low back be really soft and supported. And come back to center and take a couple of those rock backs from the beginning. Our peak pose today is going to be side plank. You guys are totally prepared with the shoulder work we've done, the core work, and the balance. And as you rock back here and you feel that sense of the core connecting the legs and the upper body, this is really the key to side plank. It's not so much about the shoulders. So notice the sensation, and we'll see if we can find it when we're using our hands as our foundation. So we did a little bit of side planking earlier with both feet on the ground, and that's going to be an option. You can always lower the bottom knee for more support, especially if the arms are feeling tired today. If all of that feels easy and you want more, there's the option to lift the top leg, and it can either hover like tree or it can lift really high. Just make sure you're breathing and you feel light. We're going to have the option to play with it 2 times on each side. So what that means is when you get tired, come out of it, roll and do it on the other side, and then you can come back. So you don't have to lift the leg or do anything fancy on the first go around. I'll talk you into it, but that's the plan. So let's start in tabletop. And begin by sliding the left leg back into a single leg plank. And notice how effortless your single leg plank is. Ooh, let's do a little experiment. Shift the weight into the right hand. Let the left heel spin down so the hips start to point forward. Stack the shoulders and feel how weightless you could possibly be in side plank. You can choose to stay right here and breathe and benefit from creating this pathway in your body. If you would like to challenge yourself and your body's craving more, play with extending the bottom leg and try to keep this same sense of ease and effortlessness. Take a couple of breaths, make sure the bottom arm is springy, and then to come out of it, slowly pivot so that you can lower the top arm. Bring the right knee in, bring the left knee in, and we'll do the same thing the other way, so you won't be able to see me, but it will be the exact same thing, so hopefully you can remember and you don't miss me too much. Start to slide the right leg back. Feel that sense of ease, and then shift the weight into the left hand. Spin the right heel down, stack the shoulders, and slowly reach the right arm up. Pause on your side and notice how supportive this is. Notice if you can relax any tension in the shoulders and breathe smoothly. And then try to maintain that sense of support as you extend the left leg so it's stacking right in front of the right leg. Pause and breathe. Push down into the outer edge of the left hand. And then to come out of it, lower the right hand, uncross the legs, and press back into Bhaktasana. We have the option to do it one more time. So you'll float into table, slide the left leg back. So if you want to do it in the same supportive way, keep the right knee where it is and go into it the same way as before. If you feel like you want to try letting the top leg fly a little bit, step back into plank, swivel the heels to the right as you hover the left arm. Push into the pinky side of the right foot to let the left leg get a little lighter, and then you can play with bringing the foot to the calf or even hovering the leg any amount. When you're ready, you don't have to rush, but eventually lower the left hand down, send the hips to the heels, and walk the hands over to the left, which should feel really nice, stretching the right side of the body after demanding extra work of it. Breathe into the right side. You can hold steady or you can sway a little. And then tense the fingertips, gently lifting the head. Walk the hands back towards center. Let's take one slow roll up. We can go right into a spiraling camel. Left arm circles forward, up and back, just as a nice counter pose option to lower the hand to the heel only if it feels accessible and supportive. Make sure you can breathe. Come out by bringing the hips down onto the heels. And last hard thing of class, we'll go to the second side. So from tabletop, the right leg slides. Option to keep the left knee where it is and just pivot, just like we did on the first round. If you'd like to step back to plank first, you're welcome to, and then swivel the heels to the left. Push into the pinky side of the left arm and let the right arm fly. Push into the pinky side of the left leg. Option to stack the feet. Option to hover the right foot. Just make sure you can breathe. Make sure the left arm feels light and springy and there's no tension in the neck. Breathe, and whenever you've had enough, you can drop the right hand down, drop the knees, send the hips to the heels, and walk the hands over to the right. Take your time with any of those steps. And push down and to the fingertips, lifting the wrists, walk them back to center. Push down into the shins to slowly roll up, and now the right arm circles forward, up and back. One last circling camel. If you want to in this last round and the body feels open enough for it, it is okay to bring both hands to the heels. Just make sure you do not feel any compression in the low back. If you do, keep circling one arm. That's going to keep the muscles more supportive. And then to come out, bring the hips down to the heels. Sink the hips over to one side. Kick the legs out. Glide the hands around along the thighs and the shins a couple of times. You can go to the next musical track. And then circle the weight on the heels, just massaging the backs of the heels. We're going to be laying down in a moment. If it's hard to turn your music off when you're laying down, you can turn it off now, but otherwise sometimes it's nice to have it as we transition. And then inch your hips down so you've got space behind you to lay down, and bring your hands to the shins. Take a couple of smooth breaths, and on an exhale, slowly start to slide the hands up the legs. Pause each time you inhale, and then exhale, keep sliding the hands up. And we'll slowly use this method to make our way all the way onto the back with a lot of support and a lot of control. Maybe you can even feel each vertebra releasing one at a time to the mat. And once you've made it onto the back, you can bring the arms to T, bend the knees, cross the right leg over the left, and make some big circles with the knees, massaging out the hips, massaging out the low back. Place the sole of the left foot down and allow the knees to point towards the left, but definitely don't bring them all the way down to the ground because that would be pretty intense. My block happens to be right there. If yours is, you can rest the knees on the block and gaze to the right. And then if you enjoyed having the block, you can grab it as you lift back to center, place it to the other side. Kick the legs up towards the ceiling, flex the feet, lengthening through the backs of the legs, and then switch the cross of the legs and make your circles. And then whenever you're ready for the twist, you can set the right foot down and allow the knees to lower towards the block. Option to gaze to the left. Let each breath help you soften. And if there's anything else that the body's craving, please be my guest. Otherwise, you can get ready for Shavasana. Make sure you're warm and cozy. Pause the music if you haven't already. And as we find our way into stillness, close the eyes if that feels comfortable for you. And scan the body from the soles of the feet up, one joint at a time. And notice as your awareness traces the body, if you actually can feel present, as if you were walking through the caverns of your body with a flashlight, illuminating the secrets. And take your time exploring. And then whenever you're ready to release completely, you're welcome to do so. Observe your breath. Make any gentle movements and actually try to feel each movement you make, be present for it. And as the body starts to wake up and become more supportive, you can eventually find your way up to a comfortable seated position. And let the body remain as relaxed as possible, yet notice how supported you are. Notice if you can sit upright without any effort while still feeling spacious and pain-free. We have just a few minutes for some conscious breathing. You can close the eyes if that feels comfortable, or gaze at a single point. Close the mouth and breathe through the nose if you can. And just like our physical practice, try to release any effort or control of the breath and be in a space of observation. And notice if you can stay much more relaxed and spacious when you're in this observer space rather than controlling, manipulating. See if you can relax a little bit more so that the breath slows down. And then start to notice the space at the top of the inhale, that weightless moment. And let yourself rest there until eventually the exhale occurs on its own. It's kind of like the feeling of when we were jumping with our arms and there was that moment of hang time. See if you can feel that within your breath. Weightless, spacious. And then see if you can maintain that energetic quality even as the exhale continues. Thank you so much for being here and practicing. Namaste. Have a great rest of your week, everybody. See all of you soon, because I get to say that. It's pretty fun that I don't have to wait till next week. So, see you soon. Aloha. Sweet dreams if you're on the East Coast. Good night, everybody.